Okay, so we're essentially, I guess, kind of on our chapter 2, which is Dr. Stein's opening statement. And so he starts off by being cordial, and then maybe not so much cordial, where he says that he likes to thank Dr. Bonson for showing up, but also showing us that he doesn't really understand too much about atheism, but he's going to be magnanimous and that he'll attempt to straighten him out, as he says. He goes on to say that now Dr. Bonson repeated for me that the existence of God is a factual question, and he doesn't dispute that, but he thinks that Bonson has misunderstood what he said when he said that we solve factual questions in the same way. He didn't mean exactly in the same way. He means through the use of reason, logic, and evidence.
Right. All right. So he's kind of cleared that up, right? His basis is reason, logic, and evidence. So not, looking in the pantry for crackers. Then I think that's what he's responding to, right? The crackers in the pantry, a fallacy that Bonson slammed them with in the ear is open. All right. Then next, Stein does two things. He wants to define his term. So he's going to define atheism, and then he's going to define God and his view of these things. So first, defining atheism. He says, let me make sure what atheism is and is not. And so he tells us that he thinks it's a very common misunderstood subject. Well, it doesn't. I guess you could say that, right? I don't understand atheism. Well, what is it that you don't understand, right? But he says, notice, atheists do not say that they can prove that there is no God, right? So what he's doing is, in defining atheism, he's trying to establish the terms of the debate, right? That's what he's trying to establish. And again, he's trying to also push the burden of proof away from himself and on to Bonson. Is really what he's trying to do here. So he says, atheists do not say that they can prove that there is no God. So he's not going to try and prove that there's no God. An atheist, he says, is not someone who denies that there is a God. Rather, an atheist says that he has examined the proofs that are offered by the theist, and he finds them inadequate. Okay, so, he's going to give us 11 of these as he's examined. I can remember a book that Plantica put together, and at the very end of it, at the end of the book, he gave like 26 arguments for the existence of God. Well, Stein's going to deal with 11 arguments, so I'm not sure how thorough he's examined all the arguments, right? And clearly, he doesn't examine Bonson's argument, right? He misses Bonson's whole argument in these 11 that he's going to give us. But anyway, he says an atheist is a person that has examined the proofs that are offered by the theist, and he finds them inadequate. And so an atheist is really someone who is without a belief in God or who does not have belief in a God. He tells us it's not someone who denies the existence of God or who says that one does not exist or can prove that is God does not exist. He says, so that's not what he's trying to do. He's just trying to show that the proofs that theists offer are inadequate. So he gives himself a really low bar, right, to try to get over, right? And so again, he's trying to push the burden of proof here onto Bonson.
Right. Makes it easier for him, too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we move on to his definition of God. And he says that he heard Bonson's definition of God, but he says that he'd like to define God as well. I'm not so sure I like his definition, speaking of Bonson. He goes on to say that I'm not going to stick to just the Christian God. I'm going to stick to all kinds of gods. Okay.
So this I had a problem with this initially.
Of course.
Because now he's saying, it's almost, you could almost, accusing him of building a straw man here.
100%.
Bonson's saying, here's a specific this is the Christian God that I'm talking about. Well, I'm not going to deal with your argument. I'm going to defeat a different argument, and I'm going to talk about a different kind of God. Okay, fine. But here's the issue. Let's say that you win the argument with regard to your definition of God. You still haven't touched Bonson's, position. And so, it's almost a straw man here. But anyway.
Yeah, well, and he's allowed to kind of shotgun approach all theists. And this seems like a presentation that he would give to like a general theism or an all theist crowd. But it's weird when you're debating a Presbyterian biblical Christian who's going to posit all the qualities of what God means within that. And so we'll go on to give his definition here, but this seems like an overly too low bar for God. It seems like you'd want all the qualities baked in, especially where we know Bonson's going to be going here. But where does he pull this definition from? He tells us first that he's going to use the definition which both Father Copleston and Bertrand Russell both agreed on their famous debate. So, it's that never refer to a better movie within your movie. So this is the great debate. So it's referring to another great debate here. And so this is his definition of what he defines as God. He's going to define it as a supreme personal being distinct from the world and creator of the world. Okay, there are elements of that, right, that fit the biblical Christian God, but that leaves out a lot of different parts, especially the triune nature of God that Bonson's going to definitely focus in on as well.
All right, good. So there's his definition of God. So he's defined what atheism is, and he's kind of given us a definition of God.